start again. There you go. Okay.
Yay.
Okay, you guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jeneth Blackert, and I am joined here with my partner in crime, Lianka Reyna, and this is the Hot Hustle Show. Today, we're talking about toxins in your home and the damage that they can do from your frequency, your energy, and your health. So, Ryan, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, we talk a lot on this show. So we kind of go pretty deep on some of, like, we're playfully known as the morning mystical show. And so we have some really expanded ideas. But one of the things that we also talk about is, while it's great to clear our energy with chakras and whatnot, this is our vessel, and our bodies and our environment can also be picking up on some negative energies and some very unhealthy things. And so we always talk about, well, we're wanting to, with you, hopefully talk about a little bit about how, what are sometimes those things that we may not be seeing in our environment, especially in our homes, that can be either causing sickness or dis-ease.
And I have a background in nutrition, so I've always really gone to the clean eating. Like, literally, I have this farmer's market egg with this farmer's market hot sauce, and I put it on this farmer's market bread almost every morning. So I'm a little, obsessive in the actual consumption way. And then when I got introduced to you, I started to change my shampoos and the things I was putting on my body. And then you take it, to the next level, and talking about our entire home and how we need to ventilate every day. And I thought, wow, that's one thing that wasn't aware of. I did not know. And I was listening to several podcasts you were on and heard about your story and how you were ill. That actually was one of the reasons that you started seeking out this work as well. And it's okay if we start right there?
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that really drives people is they need to have a purpose or a reason for doing what they do. And in my case, it was because I came very sick with mold, and I didn't know what it was at the time. And it wasn't just mold, it was actually heavy metals as well. But I had moved into a house that had some leaks in it and flooding, and it smelled a little off. It was an older home that I had bought. And I got really, really sick to the point where I couldn't keep food down. They thought maybe I had stomach cancer. I was in and out of the hospital several times. They thought that I needed to take my gallbladder out. Finally, I went to a functional medicine type doctor, did some environmental testing on me. Said, well, for one, you have a lot of mold in your system. You have a lot of mycotoxins, and you have heavy metals. And so these two things combined with some stressful things that were going on at the time really just kind of pushed me over the edge to where I just couldn't even function. I was almost bedridden, lost a lot of weight. And at the time, during most of my 20s, I'd building and designing nightclubs and recording studios and high-end churches, to where we were really good at using the environment to stimulate the body. We react to different colors and lights and frequencies and sounds and vibrations and smells in our five senses, or even our six senses, if you want to go there. We are collecting information from our environment all around us, and that information can either stimulate us positively or it can affect us negatively. And so once I got affected negatively to the point where I almost died from it, I wanted to learn as much as I could about the toxins and the dangerous things that are in our environment that are causing these illnesses, because I was not aware of it. I went through this almost a year not knowing what was going on. I'm like, am I dying? Like, what is going on? This is crazy. And I had no idea. Nobody really had answers for me. And so after going through that experience, I'm like, okay, we need some more education about this. We need to get the word out. This was 15 years ago. Now I feel like it's a little bit more mainstream, maybe not mainstream totally yet, but people are at least talking about these environmental toxins and these stressors. And you had mentioned, diet. I think what we put on our body is extremely important. That's one piece of the pie. And then we have our fitness, how we work out in our bodies and our muscles. And then we have the supplements and the health and the things inside our body, our genetics. And then we have our spirituality. And then we have our emotional. And all of those things kind of combine together to make overall health and wellness. And you've got to address all of those things. And if you're leaving one of those pieces out and you're not feeling well, that's where you need to start looking. And so that's my piece of the pie, is the environmental part.
Yeah.
Man, we're so excited for that piece, for you to be here today, because, like you said, while it may not be mainstream, at least we're starting to have these conversations. I made the joke when we had talked in our pre-call about, so Jeneth is a nutritionist, but I grew up completely opposite. I went to go see my grandmother. I worked from her house at least once a week or once or twice a week. And we were sitting down to have lunch, and I go, Grandma, she's like, what are you going to drink? And I go, oh, it's fine, I'm going to have water. And she goes, no, there's Sprite in the fridge.
Right? And I go, yeah,
And she goes,
like different culture than.
yes. And I was like, oh, okay, fine, I got this Sprite, but I, really wanted to drink water and feel clean. And so those are the types of things
Well,
that,
let's start there. I mean, one of the things that I stopped was with high fructose corn syrups, because it had mercury in it, which is one of the heavy metals. Do you want to start a little bit with heavy metals in our environment and even high fructose corn syrup? I don't know if you go that route, but
Yeah. And I always say 4 main pillars is clean water, clean food, clean air, and clean thoughts. And if we can do those 4 things,
we would love
then
that.
we're like ahead of 95% of the people out there. But those 4 things are tough to really nail in. And so when you talk about water or liquid that we put in our body and the things that are in it, heavy metals can come from a variety of different places. A lot of it comes from the ground. The water that's in the ground leaches a lot of these minerals and these heavy metals, and they get into the system. We got dental mercury amalgam fillings that a lot of people have mercury in their mouth, and they're getting exposed from mercury.
wow,
We have
right.
older homes that have lead paint in them, where we get a lot of exposure from the lead dust. And a lot of the pesticides and herbicides, things that we've used in the past to try to kill off and sterilize, has heavy metals in it that we breathe in. Batteries, jewelry. I mean, there's a whole range of different areas that we can get the contamination from the metal, but a lot of time it's really from the food and the water. That's where it seems to get the most.
Right. And what are some of the ones that we really need to filter out? And what's your best recommendation for a water filtration system?
Yeah, so on the pillar of clean water, I would say you need to filter your water here in the United States. And most places on the planet is contaminated, unfortunately. They're finding microplastics in like 99% of the water. They're finding it in their blood. They're finding it in sperm. They're finding it everywhere.
yeah,
These microplastics are very harmful to the body. And then they're finding the forever chemicals, the PFOAs. That's going to be like the Teflon, the Scotch Guard, any stain resistant type stuff. There's clothing that they spray it with to make it so it doesn't smell. All these things, they persist and they get into the body, and they're called forever chemicals because they don't break down, because the way that they're designed,
oh,
and they
Yeah,
can get in the body and get in the environment.
I just watched that movie Dark Waters. I'd recommend it to everyone. Did you see that? With the
Yeah, so
Teflon?
yeah, that's all you need to see to really get the picture of what's going on. Dark Waters is
Right.
a great example of where we've gone. And it'll actually, for me, it kind of pissed me off a little bit. I'm like, are you serious? These people are really getting away with this. They're still doing this to this
Still.
day.
right.
And this has
Yeah.
been going on since the 60s. Like, it's affecting people's lives seriously. And they're paying out so much money where it's like, well, we make 100 billion, so we'll pay out
Right.
200 million in claims or whatever. Like,
Right.
we'll pay
It's
the
like,
fines. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've got
It's
the
a-
money,
right.
but
It's
we're going to
almost,
kill the world.
it's almost
I
a
know.
business. It's a business expense, right? It's an
Mhm.
operating cost for them, right? And that's terrifying.
It is. It's a
Um,
line item. It's a business expense.
oh,
But
yeah,
that
yeah.
business expense is people's lives, and it's crazy. Yeah, Dark Waters is the name of the movie.
I'm gonna put
If you
it
haven't
in the
watched it,
chat.
watch it. Very eye-opening about our water. So, bottom
Mhm.
line, you need to be filtering your water straight
Okay.
up. The
Okay.
water that you're not only drinking, but also bathing in and showering in. If you're
Mm.
one of those people that like to take a nice 15-minute, 20-minute steamy shower, you could be absorbing more minerals and chemicals through your skin and breathing from the steam than you would if
Ay,
you were
ay,
actually
ay.
drinking it. So very
Wow,
critical to
really?
do whole home filtration, filter that out. And really you want to test first to see exactly what's in there, because there are different types of filters for different types of contaminants.
Yeah. And that's really what your company does, is test these
Can you
different things.
tell us a little bit about the, I don't know if you want to go there, but like, yet, but tell us a little bit about how that does work, when you do tests.
Yeah, if people want to know like what kind of contaminants are in my water and my environment and the whole home.
Yeah, we put together testing packages for water. I mean, you can get on our website and go to our shop and you can order water test kits directly from our website. We send you a little box. You fill up water, send it to the lab, and in about a week you get the results.
Oh,
It's
wow,
fairly
that's
easy.
interesting.
Cool.
Okay,
I want to do
okay.
it all.
Yeah.
For more
think it's
comprehensive, you know, we've put together a package that does water, mold, air, EMF, chemical, lighting, sound, and vibration. It just kind of tests the whole gamut, and we ship you out the equipment. There's some video training videos and some forms that you go through your house. It takes maybe 4 hours, you know, like an afternoon on a weekend, and you can go through your home and
Oh, I'm
collect dust and
curious.
collect water and test the EMF and all the different things. But that's typically the best way for people to get started with this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What is the one, so I do want to talk about EMF
I know, definitely.
in a little bit more in depth. Because I'm gonna raise my hand and I'm not there where I have scrubbed myself, probably not very much at all.
He said you need an 8-foot perimeter around yourself when you go to bed that should have no technology.
My husband is a tech guy. Like, we have technology like out of our ears, and that's terrifying to hear some of this. And some of it's, you know, we are under the guise that we think that this isn't, that it's not going to happen to me. What do you say beside, yes, we'll talk about the EMF, but is one of the ones that people are most surprised about, that you see common, that, people just don't think that's going to happen to them and is really showing up?
EMF and mold are the two biggest ones, but EMF is one of the easiest, but also yet one of the hardest because of the psychology behind it. We want things convenient. We want our toys. We want our technology. We want our wireless headphones. We want the Wi-Fi. We want everything around us to be easy and convenient. But the problem is that it comes at a cost. Our heart, our nervous system, our brain. It all runs on these electrical impulses. And when we overlay these artificial frequencies, it really affects the energy of our body. I mean, you can even go deeper in a cellular and an atomic level, a molecular level. It's all just vibrations. It's all energy, and it all is interacting with each other. And when we have that disresonance, that disharmony, that's when we get the disease. And it's because everything's not in line, everything's not functioning properly, and it's out of balance. And so now we overlay all these artificial frequencies from all around us, the printer over here, the Wi-Fi in the cupboard. I got the wireless headphones, the laptop, the computer, everything's sitting right here. All of these things can interfere with the body and cause a lot of issues. And we're seeing that more and more. And there's a lot of studies that are backing this up. This isn't, 15 years ago, this used to be woo-woo stuff like, oh, it's fine. We looked at it like we look at cigarettes 60, 70 years ago, when it was okay to smoke on planes and smoke in the restaurant. I remember when I was a kid, there was the smoking section in the restaurant, but you could still smell the smoke. We never sat there, but you could still smell it. I remember that as kids, and now you would never do that. But that's where we're at with EMF. We're just not educated yet. And I think there will be a time when it's like, hey, this is in this area, put your phones on airplane mode. We're not bringing EMF radiation in there. We're not going to have Wi-Fi in the kids' schools anymore. We're going to hardwire things. So there's an appropriate way to do this, but we're not there yet with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and we have a good comment that everyone has a smart home now, right?
Yeah, like
so literally we're immersed in it, and we're on these like Zoom calls for 2 hours every day. And then we're like in tech trying to, get everything emailed out and communicated and this, that, and the other.
In a small area in a home.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's a built out studio, but it's, we're in this area with these big lights and all of this Wi-Fi and technology around us.
So, but what would be your recommendation? Because we're not going to change what we're doing for work. Is it just literally you just need space from it, especially when you sleep? Is that your recommendation?
So there's really three ways to deal with it. one of them is the source itself. Either eliminate the source, the power of the source, tone down the power of the source. But the second is the distance away from it. So instead of having my cell phone in my pocket or my lap, I have it on the desk 4 or 5 feet away from me. And then the third thing is duration. How much time are we spending around these devices? We make some boundaries and we set some rules in place. We say, okay, at dinner time, no phones at the table. We're going to have it on airplane mode. It's family time. When we're asleep, let's put everything outside of the bedroom. Let's put it on airplane mode. When I'm on here doing a podcast, I don't need to have my cell phone on right now. So it's on airplane mode. But you can go a
Wow.
step further in the office where you're spending time and hardwire. So all those things that
Yes.
I just named would be a
Yes.
typical home. In my house, the printer is hardwired behind me, so I don't have the Wi-Fi on. My laptop is hardwired, and I have a wire that runs over to the internet router. The Wi-Fi is actually turned off, so we don't have Wi-Fi.
Oh,
Headphones, if I'm
wow.
using them, are wired. I see you guys have wired
Yeah, we
headphones as
do.
well. The microphones are wired. So all of these things, we're relying on the wired connection instead of
Yeah.
using the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
That's so counterintuitive to like what we are being pushed almost to do, where our phone doesn't have the wire jack anymore. And like my intuition kept saying, I don't really feel good about putting these things in my thing and like having it just beam, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi the whole time, just like I don't, without my cord. So I, got the adapter and stuff, but I can see how if I go to my family, and I'm gonna have to be the mama that's like, no, we're going back to wires, y'all, because our health depends on it.
Mhm.
What are you seeing when you said you saw the tests of that science is backing this up? What are some of those ailments that people and how much like for me to hear you say that you have that much wiring, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta make some changes.
Yeah, I
Because it
know.
must be for a good reason.
Yeah,
Um,
and some people are sensitive to EMF and some people are not. And so I think that's where a lot of the confusion is. I got to have a household where maybe the husband, one of the kids, like, I don't feel anything, I'm fine. And the wife's like, oh my gosh, when all this stuff is on, I go crazy. I got to go for a walk. I got to go for a hike.
Mhm.
oh
I got to
wow.
get out because I don't feel great.
Right.
And it's because we can't see these energy waves, but people can feel them. And so
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that we're seeing is typically going to be like brain fog is really a big one, ADD, ADHD type symptoms, people that can't
Wow.
sleep very well, anxiety, kind of stress on the body. Like I just feel like there's, why am I a little bugged right now for no reason?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
because all these energies are just really affecting the body. And this on a cellular level, the cells are saying something's not natural with this. These aren't the normal frequencies that I'm normally getting from the body and from the earth. But the problem is we're around them all the time. And so how often do you honestly get away from all your electronics, and
Yeah.
like go out in the mountains and truly camp? Like very rarely are we even doing that anymore. So our body doesn't have that difference anymore to tell. It's just kind of a
Mm.
constant state of, I'm just getting older. This is how I feel now. I need the coffee. I just don't feel as sharp as I used to be. And it shouldn't be like that. That's the environment affecting us. And a lot of times it's the EMF affecting. So I always tell my clients,
Yeah.
do get away if you can, or do a digital detox in your house where just for the weekend, just turn the power off. Maybe you leave the fridge on, but just turn the power off, turn your phones off, play board games, get away from the technology and see if you notice a difference, even if it's just a
Yeah.
little bit of a difference. And
Like
if
when
you
the
do, then let's lean
electricity,
into that. Yeah.
the electricity goes out, you notice a difference. I mean, it's like, where is everything?
Yeah.
It's funny. We bought a beach house on an island, and it's very clear that when I go out there, that even though I'll bring my computer and my laptop and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and off I go, and it's very clear to me that that environment is different, even though we've got Wi-Fi, but there's not so much noise in
Mm-hmm.
general.
I agree
It's
with you
like
on that.
I'm just quiet and clear, despite a lot of times doing the same things I do here.
Yeah, they've coined the term electrosmog. It's just like pollution like
Wow.
in the city, but it's
I love that.
electronic pollution. There's so much of it around us all the time. And yeah, you go into those type of environments. Like just this weekend, we went out camping. We like go boat camping, went out on the lake and take the boat back to where you can't even drive to, and there's no cell service.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, but at the end of the 3 days, the kids are getting along better. Everything like it just seems like everything's better.
Yes.
Everybody feels better, and then
Yes.
you get back into the home environment, back into the city, and then it's back to the normal routine again. but we forget our bodies need nature. That's how we evolved on this planet. And that's what our bodies love, is natural things, not these synthetic things. And that's the problem a lot of times.
Even fabrics for clothing. I found that my body is so much happier when it just has cotton. It likes cotton and some of the other things that are more natural for our bodies. But if you put in anything like polyester on me or rayon, I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah. And sometimes when you mix some of those materials, that's when you'll start shocking people. You build up a little static charge when you have polyesters and
Oh, gosh.
Really?
Oh,
Because you literally are electric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so let's talk about air. I know that was the thing I think I heard on the podcast that really got me was like, you're talking open the windows almost every day and ventilation. And I was like, really? Is that really required? Can you talk a little bit about air and air filters and ventilation?
Yeah, one of the biggest things we're seeing with air is that the homes are not breathing. A lot of newer homes, anything built from 1990 and up, are built very airtight, and they did that to become energy efficient, right? We want to save energy, which is great. But the problem with that is now the homes aren't breathing. So if you can imagine just sitting there breathing into a paper bag all day long, eventually you start recycling the same air.
Oh my goodness.
The oxygen levels start lower and CO2 levels start going up. And really the only time we're getting fresh air is when we go in and out of the house to open the doors, unless you have a fresh air ventilation system installed, which a lot of people don't.
No.
So we recommend, so I have this meter that sits on my desk all the time. I monitor my CO2, and that's a little bit high right now. I would go open up my window. So I'm in Idaho right now, and so the weather is perfect. It's like 75 degrees outside and sunny and clear. So doors and windows open as much as you can and flush that out. The only time I'd say not to open windows and doors is if you live in a very humid climate. We don't want to let a lot of that moisture in, because then we're going to start feeding the mold. Or if for some reason the air is toxic outside, maybe it's a big fire somewhere and there's a lot of smoke, or you're downwind from a factory, or there's something in the air that we got to close out. And then that makes it tough, because what do? We lock everything up, and we can filter the air and we can clean it. But what do we do about getting the fresh air in, the oxygen, the fresh oxygenated air? If you go outside your house and you can feel a difference in the air, your house is musty. You need to air it out. There shouldn't really be a noticeable difference between inside and outside.
You've already changed my whole world.
Oh my God. Well, I feel that the little changes that I've made, it just makes me feel better about myself. And even though maybe I have or have not noticed a health difference, I feel so much better knowing that my family is using shampoo that doesn't have any toxins in it, and hand soaps, and and what we're using to wipe down the counters is now a cleaner brand. Do you want to talk about some of the natural household items that are just so toxic to us that people are just using in their homes day in and day out?
Yeah, and that comes down to the chemicals. That's the chemical pillar. And the products that we bring into our house, we've got to know what they are. A lot of times, I always tell my kids, read the ingredients. And if you don't know what the ingredients is, don't put it on your body and don't put it in your body. And that goes for personal care products, that goes for food, that goes for anything. If you don't know what it is, don't put it on your body. And if you follow that rule, that's going to cut out a lot of material. That's going to cut out a lot of products, because how many of our cleaning supplies or cosmetics do we look at? And it's got all kinds of crazy chemical names and numbers and dioxyhexane and all kinds of stuff.
I was gonna laugh because we always mop with Fabuloso, because that's what we grew up with, right? Because it smells good, it smells like it cleaned and stuff. And
it smells clean.
Oh my gosh.
She also came into my office with some aerosol hairspray too, and I said nothing. Because my grandma used it.
Yeah, that's been the Fabuloso. Yeah, because we go to Mexico a lot, and that's the thing that they use down there all the time. That's like the main thing.
The so commercials for that are so funny.
Y'all are laughing, but it's so cute. Okay. So, but this is why it's important, especially for my culture, to start learning more about these things, because this could be what's, literally killing us, right?
Yeah.
It is.
We saw And I'm going to say one more thing. In the Latino culture, we saw that during COVID, the Latino community was, I mean, they were losing entire communities down by the valley. And I think that's just a multitude of, not eating right and different things that we have done that COVID had, escalated and brought forth, some of the things that we weren't already doing as a community and as a culture to be a little bit healthier. That's all I'm saying. That's my PSA for the day.
Yeah, no, and that's great. And it's good that awareness is coming around, for sure. But you can clean with such natural products instead of the Fabuloso or the 409 or the bleach, and that you can use like half distilled water with half distilled vinegar and a little lemon essential oil, or even squeeze a lemon into it. Yeah, you don't need a whole lot. We clean about 95% of our surfaces with just that right there. You don't need a whole lot.
And that'd be a lot cheaper too than buying Fabuloso.
It is cheaper.
Yeah.
I think that's a big misconception. And you probably know this with nutrition. It is a misconception that you gotta be rich to be healthy. That's not it at all. In fact, a lot of times it's cheaper.
Thank you.
Be more simple.
Yeah. No, I love that. Somebody asked, what about Faraday fabric?
Faraday cages. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I like that.
Yeah. So we'll jump back to EMF for a second. So if you living in like a hotel, or not a hotel, but like an apartment complex or places where the homes are really close, and you can turn your device off, but you can't turn your neighbors below and above and beside, and we got this energy really close. They make these Faraday cages for the bed. They're called sleep shields, where you can put it over the bed like a canopy. And when you get inside of it, it blocks the energy coming from the outside. The only thing is you can't use technology inside of it because the energies will bounce around. It makes it worse for you. But you can use those in a situation where you can't move and you need to stay there, but you're EMF sensitive and you want to protect yourself. Also, things like blankets, they'll reflect the energy away. Stickers don't work. They're full on scams. That I wish there was like a little magic sticker we could put on it and made a force field, but they're 100% scams. We've tested hundreds of them by now, and they zero reduction in EMF. It's crazy.
So they're literally just to make money.
100% to make money. Yeah. Now there is some placebo effect to that. I do believe in the power of the brain and the mind. And
so these are people.
I know.
Just the way you talk, you are people.
I do feel that if you ask your frequency to like clear the energy from this, it does seem like there's some space made there for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally believe in the energy healing and all that stuff. That's big stuff. And the power of the mind, like Joe Dispenza and that kind of teaching, like what you believe. And I'm all about that. That's so true. So yeah, if you want to wear a pendant and you believe it's protecting you, then it probably is. So but is it actually physically lowering the EMF? No, we can measure that with a meter. Is it protecting you on another level? Absolutely, if you believe it.
Right.
So I don't want to discount that at all.
Thank you. And I think that's really beautiful. The other thing you mentioned was mold. As now we tend to think that the mold is, just around the water areas. I heard you talk about this, that sometimes that's a misconception.
Mold has to have water to grow. So if we can keep the water out of the house, then we're not going to have a mold issue. Where we come into a problem is when we have a roof leak, or we have a leak inside the house somewhere, or we have really high humidity inside the house and we get condensation. Then we start to see the mold starting to grow. But the problem is it grows a lot of times in places where we can't see it, behind the wall, behind the cabinets. So people will be in a house, they're not feeling well, and mold a lot of times is one of the last things they look for. Traditional doctors aren't talking about mold. You have to go to more of a functional medicine doctor. But even then, mold usually doesn't get brought up until a little further down the conversation. So we're finding about 70% of homes have a mold problem. That's a large number. That's a lot of people.
Large number.
Yeah. And those people,
right?
Yeah, and they're getting affected at some level. Not everyone was like I was. Of course, that's more of an extreme case. But how many people are getting affected enough where they just don't have the energy and they're just not feeling good and they need the energy drinks to make it through the day, or they're self-medicating, or who knows what it is. A lot of different things. And how much better quality of life could you have if you didn't have that toxic load on your body?
Absolutely.
We'll find
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just back to EMFs. This community seems to be all into EMF. They also asked about phone cases and wearables like bracelets and pendants and copper things and
Yeah, I'll talk about the phone case. So if the phone varies its power depending on how far away we are from the cell tower. So if I'm really close, I'm a quarter mile, it will send a ping out and it'll say, okay, you only need to transmit at 10% because you're really close. And it does that to save battery power. They're smart. Now, if I'm way out in the boonies and I'm at one bar and the nearest cell tower is 10 miles away, that phone has to max its power out to transmit to be able to get out. And that's because you'll notice your phone battery will die quicker if you're out in the boonies. Now, what happens is when we put a case on the phone and we shield and block the phone, now when that phone tries to make a phone call, it has to go through that shield. Now it's going to think that it's a lot further away because the signal is going to be a lot weaker than it normally was. And because of that, now the phone is going to boost its power up to compensate to make that strong connection again. So in a lot of cases, it actually makes it worse because now we've just boosted the power of the phone when we didn't need to. And so cases give a false sense of security. The same thing with the pendants and signal. You know, we talked about that. They're not doing anything to actually lower EMF, but it could have other benefits.
Yeah, it could have that placebo effect or the mind effect.
Interesting.
The energy effect.
But you don't see it through testing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we have the meters. It's anybody can buy a meter offline they're like 50, $60 now, and you can measure for yourself and you'll see that there's no reduction.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to mold because I think that's a big one. Is the only way really to remove mold is by removing the thing that's creating the mold. Like once we had a bathtub and some way it wasn't hooked up right and it was leaking.
So was ours.
Yeah, and we had all this black mold like in and around the tub. And they literally came in and replaced the tub and cleaned it all out and everything. Is that the only way that you can deal with that kind of situation?
So there's a couple different steps to it. Step one is once we realize that we have a mold problem and it's growing, in your case, again, it was the water. So it needs water to grow. You had a leak.
Yeah.
Always step one is fix the leak and then dry everything up. That's going to kill the mold. You don't need any special chemicals or anything to kill the mold. We simply take the water away and within 48 hours, the mold.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Now,
Great.
that's step one. Step two is we need to remove the mold from the environment. So if it's growing on drywall or carpet or in the wood, if it's growing deep into some of that stuff, we've got to physically cut it out and remove it. Treat it just like it's cancer. That's cancer of the home is what mold is. And if you think about it like that, it helps you understand what we need to do about it. Physically remove it. That's step two. So once we've removed all of the mold, now if it's on like 2x4s or structure of the house, we can sand it down and remove it on the surface. But if it's grown into it, we have to cut that out and remove it, just like cancer. Now, the third step, and this is one of the most important ones, is removing all the mycotoxins and mold spores that have been coming off of that mold.
Wow.
So think about that like someone in the bathroom smoking a cigarette, okay? And then the cigarette smoke is proliferating through the house. It's going everywhere. It's getting into the carpet, on surfaces. We can tell the person to quit smoking cigarette and put the cigarette out, but the cigarette smoke is still everywhere. Now we need to clean up the cigarette smoke and the cigarette smoke residue. And that's what happens with the mold spores, because it's not the mold behind the sink that's making you sick. It's the mold spores and the mycotoxins that have been coming off of the mold that are now traveling throughout the house that have settled on your pillow and on your couch and on your dishes. And then you eat that and then you breathe it in. So yeah, we can take care of the water source, stop the mold, then we remove the mold. Now we got to clean up the mess throughout the whole house.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's that third step that a lot of times gets missed with mold. I would say about 80 to 90% of the time. And so a lot of times, a lot of clients call me up and said, we had a mold problem, got it fixed, but you know what? Our symptoms are still here. Like, okay, did we do the deep clean? What do you mean deep clean? Okay.
Yeah.
Then we got to explain what's happening once they do the deep clean. And that's the situation where you hear about these people that have to throw things away. And it totally depends on how bad the mold is and what the material is. If it's a porous material, I'm working on a project now where they had a really nice couch. They just paid $8,000 for it, but they had a huge leak behind the wall. And they looked back behind there one day. They were starting to get sick and the whole thing was black. And unfortunately, the mold had got up into the back of the couch, something like that. Yeah, we got to
Wow.
throw it away.
Yeah.
There's no salvaging that. Now, the
Yeah.
couch that was in the other room that was away from the mold, we can do a nice steam clean on that and remove the mold spores, and we're okay. And so it takes a professional to really help guide you through what stuff can we keep, what stuff can we throw away, what stuff do we need to just walk away from. And a lot of times it's the porous materials that are really holding on to these mold particles that need to get thrown away.
Yeah. One time we had a slab leak, and I mean, we knew because there was like water coming up from like like you'd step on the floor and it'd be like
That's
slosh,
how
slosh,
ours
slosh.
was.
Oh, wow.
And, and we had to live with those fans in there. And the guy said, but the alternative to not having these fans is that you're going to have mold, and you're going to have to actually remove walls if we don't get it. And I was like, okay, we'll deal with the fans.
Yeah. And a lot of times, even after so what you're saying here is that a lot of times, even if they come and do the whole fans and stuff like that, you're still finding those spores throughout the home.
So there's always going to be mold spores in the environment floating around. That's considered the mold load, and it should be fairly equal with outside to inside, and our body can handle that, and that's normal. What happens is when those mold spores land, it's basically a seed, and now we have the flood, we have a leak or something, and in about 48 hours, that mold spore starts to grow like a plant. And in about 48 hours, it starts to produce spores. And so within about a week, now those spores have budded out, and we're talking millions of them. They land in the water, they start to grow. Next thing you know, we have what's called a colony. So within about 2 weeks of water and mold spores, we have a pretty big mold problem. Now, if a leak happened and you get it dried up within 24 hours, even 48 hours, you're probably fine. But if some of that wood or some of that drywall or carpet or flooring stayed wet for more than a week or two, our chances of mold showing up in that area exponentially grow day by day. So the key is to get it dried out immediately and get it fixed. If it's something that's been going on in the wall that you just didn't know about and it's been going on for 6 months, you got mold back behind there. Then you need to deal with it a little bit differently.
I gotcha.
Wow.
Sounds like I need to get my home tested for sure.
I know. I'm so excited to just have a real clean home.
No, but
I
love that you have this resource, because I would be so blind.
Yeah, because I'm like, then back in my head is like, well, how do I know if I have mold? Like, how do I even know if my bathtub is leaking again? Right? I don't know, because I haven't tested it. And that was why I got so excited when we found you, because I was like, now I can have it all. Because I want to know if, because I have had brain fog. I think it was perimenopause, but I was like, at the time, it was like, what is going on? Why can I not think like I used to think 10 years ago? So, and the jury's still out if it could still be better, and I could be even more superhuman and live even more of my best life, right? So I'm on a mission to be that right now.
And you 100% could be better. We could all be a lot better. I mean, we dial in all the different parts. You get your nutrition dialed in, you get your fitness dialed in, you get your spirituality, your connection to higher source, you get your emotional, everything figured out. You're happy there's so many things that we can do that we can help improve. And that's what I love about this. I'm more of a biohacker, I guess, myself, longevity.
I love that.
And for myself, I want to live as healthy and as long as possible. I mean, I don't need to live forever by any means, but I want to still be active when I'm 80, skiing and hiking and having a great time and playing with my grandkids. And so the things we do now are going to determine what we do later. And the environment has such a big impact on that, because that's the toxins that are really breaking down the body. And you ask, how would you know if we have a mold problem? And one of them, like you said, you start feeling different. You start noticing a little bit more, I'm a little more fatigued. I got a runny nose when I wake up, or a stuffy nose, or a cough that's out of nowhere. My kids just seem to always be getting sick. What's going on? These are all signs that you got something going on. These are all red flags from the body. And seeing typical Western medicine is all about suppressing symptoms.
Yes.
When you have a headache, take a pill. You got a cough or a cold, take some NyQuil, take this, take this. Instead of saying, okay, what's causing the headache or what's causing the cold? Let's go to the root cause and let's figure that out. And that's what we do with the environment, is we get to the root cause, because a lot of these things are stemming from these things that we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. We had another comment on the chat that says, talking about water and mold, differences between mold and mildew.
Number two, in our wet areas, bathrooms, pools, rainy season entryways, how often should we be checking these areas for contamination?
So for one, mold and mildew. So mildew is just a term that was coined by Lysol. It's just a generic term for mold.
Oh,
Mildew is
okay.
mold. It's the
It's
same
good to
thing.
know. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, mold, there's like thousands of different species of mold, and they just call mildew the mold that grows around your bathroom for
Yeah.
Lysol. Like they coined that term. So it's just a
I
generic
gotcha.
term for mold.
How
No
dangerous
difference.
is that mildew that's on shower curtains and things like that?
Well, it depends on what kind of mold it is. Just like
Okay.
lots of species of animals, some are very dangerous, some are not at all. Little kitty cat, no big deal. Lions and tigers and bears, dangerous. Same thing with mold. We have different types of species that can be very dangerous. Some like
Yeah.
black mold can kill people,
Yeah.
kill
Well, it
pets. It's
says
very
that,
dangerous.
Wow.
yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, Tarek just put in on the feed that there's a mold spot in the closet in his brother's room, made him really sick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Without reason or healing. And then writes, is cleaning spot enough? Washing the clothes, is it enough? Or should we burn them and throw them away?
Yeah, what about the clothes within a closet, right? Because you said a couch was affected in a different area of the home from one that was really affected by the water.
Yeah, if you think back to this mold spot as like someone smoking a cigarette and the smoke is going throughout the house, especially if you have ducting and an air conditioning system that's pulling air through the house, how
Wow.
long is it going to take to pull those particles throughout the house and evenly distribute them into all the different belongings? And so, it's hard to give a blanket answer for something like that. That's where hiring a consultant, someone like me to come in and really go over all the details and come up with a solid plan, because every situation is different. And we determine what's the health of the occupants, what type of mold is it, how long has the mold been growing, and what's the financial means. Some people don't have money to throw everything away and start over fresh. And so we got to come up with other options. So it's every case is different.
I'll tell you what, though, throwing out my $8,000 couch rather than, getting sick with cancer. I mean, the couch is gone. Like, gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's good you see it that way, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't see it that way.
I do get that.
So it's hard to, and that's why I love, and that's why I do these kind of things that we're doing right now, is to educate people, to teach people, to open people's eyes and their mind. Like, hey, it's not worth it down the road. A little bit, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure in so many different areas, and then no different in this. And that if we can prevent cancer, we can prevent chronic illness, we can make your life, even if we can make your life 10% better, to where you can think 10% better. You have 10% more energy. You got an extra hour or two of your day. How much can you put a price on that? What's the price you would put on that?
No, I absolutely agree.
I'd be more fit, I think.
Be more fit, look better, feel better.
Yeah.
What about things like dogs? Like, we have two big dogs and they bring in a lot of dirt. Do you have is there anything that you recommend? Like,
for pets, around your pets or anything like
around
that?
pets in general?
Yeah, it just requires a little bit more work. So when you have a pet, it just requires more work because they are bringing stuff in. And I have clients that when they walk the dog, then they'll wipe the feet when they come back in the house. And just because I think they're more cleanliness concerned, but also it depends on where you're walking the dog too. If you're more out in the country and it's a lot more natural, not as big of a concern. Maybe you live next to a golf course and the dog or the cat runs out on the golf course, which they're spraying with chemicals daily to keep it looking like that.
Right.
You're bringing a lot of things in, and not only the pets, but also us and our shoes too. I'm really big on having a no shoes rule. I'm very strict on that at our house.
Smart.
Even when I go over to friends, it's just a habit. I just kick my shoes off. I don't want to track anything in their house.
Yes.
And the pets are doing the same thing. And so we just got to be conscious of that.
Thank you for saying that.
Because I guess my attitude was like, it's just dirt, right? But then, now I'm like, well, now that we're having this conversation, it is dirts that may have been affected by, spray Roundup even.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband does spray for things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's dirt. And then you go to fill up your car with gas and then you walk through all the petroleum product and the spit and the gas and the diesel, and then that gets on your shoe. And then you go into the public bathroom and you walk through and there's E. coli and harsh cleaning chemicals, and those get on your shoe. And then you go walk through the park where they're spraying the weed killer and the pesticides, herbicides, and all that gets on your shoe. So now we have all of that stuff with dirt, microbiomes, and we bring all that into the house and we walk through our carpet, we kick our feet up on the couch. And especially if you have little ones that are still crawling on the floor,
Yeah.
that's getting directly in their mouth.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I'm like barefoot and with all this dirt now, I'm like thinking, yes, this has got to change.
Yeah, and dirt's good. I'm okay with dirt. I want my kids to
Yeah.
play in the dirt. It's the chemicals,
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I
and the
gather that.
bacteria and the viruses. Those are the
Yes.
things that worry me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even our dirt has changed, right? Like because of the chemicals has been,
Right.
you know, so much more compounded.
Yeah.
Do you have brands that you recommend as far as air filters? And we talked about the cleaning products using vinegar and water more often. What are your recommendations for that, just in
Yeah,
general?
and just to make it easy, on our website under shop, we've categorized all the different mold, air,
Oh, cool.
personal care products, furniture, building material, and we vetted and gone through and made a huge list.
Good.
A lot of the stuff is just direct links to these manufacturers to make
Sure.
it easy for my clients to find this stuff. Some of it have discount codes, so you can get a discount.
Okay.
But you mentioned air filters. We have what's called a Jasper.
Oh, nice.
Kind of like the Cadillac of air filters. And I have one in every room. I have two in my bedroom and I have two in the living room. I'm really
Mhm.
big on clean air. We talk about clean water, food, air, and thoughts. The clean air part of it, whatever is going to get in the air. And in Idaho, sometimes we got fires in the fall, and so it can get rather smoky here. And so we crank all those things on, close the windows when we purify our air and make sure that we're always breathing in clean air.
I feel like you're like the, WWRD. What would Ryan do? Like, I just want to know what you're doing. Like, is that list out somewhere? I feel like it'd probably be on your website a lot, but golly, I'm thinking, wow, these things and this thing and just very practical things that for me, I miss in my everyday life. Like, and so just hearing you saying like
I
that
know.
too in my bedroom is eye-opening. I just have to say.
Yeah. And I actually had a YouTuber come do a video on my house called One of the Healthiest Homes in
Okay,
America.
so we'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and it's on our website. If you go to videos on the bottom, I have
Uh-huh.
a bunch of videos on there. It's one of those videos. I think it's labeled 5 toxic things in your home, but it's actually a walkthrough of our house and all the things that
cool.
we've done.
So it is what would Ryan do?
Kind of, yeah. Well, I do get asked that a lot with my clients. Like, well, what do you do at your house? And so,
Sure.
of
Mhm.
course, I walk the talk because this is what I do, and
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
doing this for my health and my family's health. And so,
Yes. Yeah, and
I try to implement that with my clients as well.
I think I
Yeah.
love that.
I love that too. What are things that people usually ask about that we're not asking?
That's a good question.
Lighting.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Lighting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Is a
Okay.
big one. It's not a coincidence that we sleep when the sun goes down and we're awake when it's up. We get cues from the sun of when we're supposed to sleep and when we're supposed to be awake. And so in the daytime right now, middle of the day, it's nice and bright outside. The sun is coming directly down. We're getting full spectrum into our eyes. That's directly telling our body to suppress melatonin and to not be sleepy and to be awake. Now, when
Mhm.
that sun starts to go down and starts to set, and it starts to get into the yellow and the amber and the red colors, and then the intensity goes down, but also the direction of the light starts coming in directly to the eyes. Ancestrally, past that point, we had fires, we had candles, and we had lanterns, and they were all low intensity. They were all amber and red, and they were all at eye level. They weren't overhead. And so those things are what is triggering the body to say, hey, it's getting ready for bedtime. Let's start producing melatonin in the body. Let's start reducing cortisol. Let's start relaxing and getting into a healing state. The problem is now is when the sun goes down, what do? We turn on all the lights in our house. A lot of them are overhead. They're bright. They're blue. We turn on the TV. We get on our phone, our laptops to do work, and it confuses the body. The body thinks, well, wait a minute. I guess it's not nighttime. I guess it's the middle of the day. Let's not produce melatonin. And then we lay in bed and have trouble sleeping, or we're so exhausted we fall asleep, but then we don't sleep well during the night and we wake up and toss and turn. It's because our circadian rhythm is completely out of balance. But there's also another side to the lighting that we've changed is that the light bulbs now have a flicker rate. And they do that to save energy. The LEDs, they're on for a cycle and off, on, off. And they do this really fast. The sun is a consistent glow. It doesn't turn on and off fast. It's constant. Candles are constant. Fires are constant. But the lighting that we're using now is flickering. So that flicker rate can affect people. And I see a lot of people where they say, you know what, light bothers me. And I say, well, does the sun bother you? No, the sun doesn't. It's just like when I go to Target, the big box stores and the fluorescent lighting, like I don't feel good underneath it. It's not the light, it's the flicker rate. It's
Oh, wow. I had no idea. But that really resonates with, it feels light for me, which I always say is kind of true. Yeah, that whole.
Well, I knew fluorescent lights were draining the life out of me when I used to work in corporate,
Or even
right?
right now, because we have lighting.
Well, and
for
now we
camera.
have all LED lights, which doesn't seem to bother me. But now, what would you recommend as far as the lighting we choose?
So we have a link, again, on our website to some of the bulbs you can use, but the website is called Block Blue Light. And they sell all circadian rhythm friendly lighting, and it's no flicker rate, and you can switch out your bulbs. But you know, an interesting thing too is the way we look in like the candlelight or firelight, we look better. So I would say, next time you guys are on date night, use a candle instead of like an LED bulb, and just look at the ambiance it creates, the glow. It's so much different than having an actual electrical light bulb. Make sure you're using like soy base or a healthy, non-toxic, non-chemical
Candles,
like beeswax with essential oils. But try that, using the candle instead of the actual electrical lighting, and you'll notice and feel and see a difference.
Wow, I would have never asked that question ever. That's
I
so
love
awesome.
I love that so much. And I also love how I imagine it make me feel just yummy and romantic as well. So
It
thank
does,
you for that. Yeah.
And
You'll
you
thank
save
me later.
electricity.
My husband might. So tell us a little about, so I would love to share the link that you had provided for us. We've got an affiliate link. It's on, and I just wanted to have them kind of maybe walk through and what you do when you do your tests. And how, you know, what the link is when we do have, like, let's say somebody visits your site and they might be interested in getting a test. I know you kind of mentioned that a little bit.
Yeah, so when you click on the site, you'll see two options right off the bat. One on top is kind of our main remote testing kit that we talked about, where we ship you out the EMF meter and the mold testing and the water testing and the air quality meter and some other meters that you can go through your house and really uncover a lot of the things that we talked about. And then it also includes a 40 video series, and they're pretty quick. They're pretty easy. I go through and make it quick to the point, step by step. Take this meter, measure it in this room, write it down on this form. And then it includes 2 consultations with me. One to kind of go through the testing and make sure you're doing it right. And then another one to go over all the results and talk about solutions. So that's really the best option. And we can do that anywhere in North America. We can send those kits out. And it's been really, really helpful for people to find. We've uncovered a lot of problems with those, and I think even saved some lives with this kit.
I believe
because we found issues that have been very serious that people just had no clue about.
Yeah, this is something that nobody talks about. There's information around 1 or 2 things, but not the whole home. And that's what I found was so fascinating about you, and you're so knowledgeable. It was like, this is quick and easy. You know, this is not like I've got to, figure out how to get. I mean, I have one air filter in my bedroom. And the only reason I got it was because in the night I get this tickle in my throat and I start coughing. And I was like, now I'm just laying here sleeping. It just made me think like a particle might be getting in there. And now I'm like thinking, maybe I do need filters all over my home. When I pull that one thing out, and like I said, I've got dogs, it's like just disgusting. It's like this all coming from my air. And that was one of the keys that said, I need to seek out and learn more about this.
Yeah.
And I bet intuitively you're picking up on that.
I'm thinking,
I
now
feel my body saying, yes,
Now,
yes. My guides are probably telling me, yes. And your son, and because my son has allergies, but I grew up with
Mhm.
allergies. So I thought, oh, he's just gonna have allergies that inherited like us, right? And I'm thinking, how naive. Like, I am so wanting to protect my child from having to have other ailments if I can. And so that's why it's so important, and just a really gift that you are for coming out and being the crusade for this.
And allergies affect your immune system so much. It's
Yeah,
just
well, thank you for saying
of
that.
us
No,
does.
I feel like this is really important, and it's really easy. The whole testing kit you can do in an afternoon, 4 hours, and then really
Mhm.
figure out, hey, what's going on. I think, you know,
I
we
don't know how to
we
Control
monitor
V.
our home, we monitor our car, we go check our blood work, but you know, we really need to dial into some of these environmental things and figure out if there's any issues that we're dealing with, because it's important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you guys, the link is in the chat, but it's also going to be in the box below this video when you're probably watching the replay or watching it on YouTube. Wow, Brian, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you feel like this community should know that we should
Any
ask?
parting words?
Yeah, parting words.
I'd say, well, the only other thing is sound. And I think there's another thing that people really underestimate is music and noise, and knowing the difference. There's good vibrations that our bodies really resonate with and feel good with, and there's noise and frequencies that can really cause a lot of stress on the body. Even just like the refrigerator having a little hum or a buzz when it kicks
Wow.
on, or the air
Mhm.
conditioning unit has a leak and it whistles like high frequency, or you live by a freeway and that consistent rumble is a really big stressor on people. That I've seen a lot of health improvements just by taking out
Wow.
some of that noise and putting it back with just your favorite song. And you don't get crazy with all these binaural beats and frequencies, just your favorite music, and
Mhm.
be more intentional about playing and having good music playing in your house. That really sets the mood in the environment. And you can different music creates different moods and different feelings.
Sure.
Absolutely. I love that.
How much it actually does impact us.
Yeah.
Another thing I would say too is don't stress about this stuff. I know we talked about a whole lot of stuff, and I know people can hear this and sometimes they get overwhelmed and think, oh my gosh, where do I even start? I'm killing my kids. What is going on? This is ridiculous. But no, it's not like that at all. We want to make
Thank
small
you.
improvements. We want to
Yes.
meet you where you're at, and we want to make little improvements over time. This is a lifelong thing. It's not something we just do overnight, and we just want to make
Yeah.
changes. It's just like nutrition or fitness. We can always do better, but we're never going to be perfect, and we don't need to strive for perfect. We just want to make sure we're just doing the best we can in
Oh, I love
education.
that. Thank you.
I want to strive for perfect.
Let's do it. I'm all for perfect too.
There we go.
Yeah.
But
Well,
don't stress out if you don't get there.
thank you so much for answering all our questions. I just felt like it was time to have this conversation, and I really feel like that was pretty epic.
Yeah, Leslie
for
says,
me.
thank you. So informative. Really appreciate Ryan's coming forward to pass on this information. Absolutely love this topic today. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
good.
Thank you. I did too. So
Thank
yeah,
you so
lots of good
much.
love. I'm sure
Good.
we'll
Well,
have
thanks
more
for
too.
having me. I really appreciate it. This has been
Yes.
fun. I love the
Thank
energy.
you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I would. All right. There we go. Wait. Yes. Okay. I was like, wait a second, where are buttons here?
I know.
Oh my gosh. All right, you guys. So we've got what, like 40 minutes or so before our next guest. And in that time, the last website doesn't open.
Okay, we'll get you.
We'll get you the right links. Let's see.
We're not going anywhere, so we
Yeah.
got a second to get it going. But yes, we'll get that going for you.
Yeah. But
thank you.
and all the correct links will be in the email and on the main page where you watch everything. So if you don't have it now, you will have it. Having a little bit of a weird tech moment. It's funny, I think I'm so good and can move around and navigate tech so good. And then I come to a moment where I have to use a PC instead of a Mac. And then I'm like, how do I paste a link? almost like, how do I copy a link? And every time I was like copying it, and I was hitting this button instead of the control button. I
Oh,
was like,
that
"Wow."
used to throw me off. I had to actually switch them because my brain wouldn't, my ADHD brain wouldn't, it just kept wanting to do what I had just had done in my past. So I went in there and I reprogrammed the buttons so that I could continue to do what I always did. So yeah,
Well,
so
so playing with this.
it's a normal thing.
Yeah. So playing with the energy in this conversation, I know that this was a different conversation, probably for what you guys are used to, really coming from us. But I would love if you would, kind of let us know how you're feeling today.
Mhm.
How can we contribute? Maybe we can lighten up the energy a little bit if you're kind of feeling like, a little overwhelmed from that.
A lot of people were really grateful seeing on the chat. I thought, wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was a different conversation. I felt like it was really important for us to
Mhm.
have it for sure. But can we do this later?
Yeah,
let's
I was
just have
trying to make sure that whoever wanted to look at it now could, but I am just hugging up the area.
it.
Thought it was gonna be fast.
Yeah,
All good.
I'm just afraid that I'm like gonna lose the entire stream if I don't.
No worries. No
Stay
worries.
solid here, man.
So if you want to take a quick break, we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about what we've got going on. And then we have our next speaker at the top of the hour at 1 o'clock. And so that's going to be a really fun change the pace conversation. Again, a lot about our physical. So we're talking about relationships, we're talking about connection, true connection, and even the sexual connection. So that'll be a fun, dynamic
And he's a
conversation.
hypnotherapist, so there's going to be some juicy energy in there
Sure,
too. It's
sure.
not all going to be talk. So, did you want to actually close the stream and take a break?
No, actually, I was just going to run to the bathroom. We'll stay live. So
If you want, yeah, it's up to you.
I'm good.
Okay. This. Let's see. Rasha says, I want to go out and change out furnace filter today. Right? My husband actually has a calendar where he, with our AC filter, he changes this out like the first of every month. And it just was, it was life-changing for us. It was as soon as I would realize that, I was getting like, that cough at night that I said, that was a big, big thing for me. So, and yeah, changing it out every month, that's great. So I left yesterday's conversation. If you haven't heard the interview, especially from Micaiah and Egan, I really would, it would let me just be light and loose today. And, and then, I was like, now we're talking more about like the physical and what we're doing more in the physical. If you haven't noticed, we've really positioned this, like day one was all about manifesting and manifesting through the timeline. And then day two was all about this clearing energy, like going out in the, galactics and clearing just from asking questions, the whole shebang, right? And today's all about like the physical, like really getting, our best life going on in our physical reality and not just in our, in our mind, not just all about clearing. It's about making these choices in our life to really live our best life. And I feel like it's really important for us to really have it all in this world. I mean, it's great that it's fun clearing and playing in the energy and getting our mindset straight. But I really feel like it's important for us to fall back in love with life. And oftentimes we do that by changing up things, even if it is changing out our air filters, and even if it is, like I said, changing my shampoo. I actually changed it. I was using Paul Mitchell, and there is a site, it's called EWF no, I can't remember what it is.
Oh, yes.
EWG.
We'll find it for you.
Yeah, it's environmental work group something.
Uh-huh.
And it is, it was, I was like looking up all our products and it'd be like, here's what's really toxic. And here's what's like not so toxic. And then here's what's clean. And so I changed it up. No kidding. Herbal essence. I can buy it at the grocery store,
Oh,
like
wow.
ATB is like one of the least toxic shampoos you can get. And I thought, here I'm using Paul Mitchell and
Right, all these really
Blanche and all
expensive.
these high-end things. And it was scaring me, the stuff I was learning about with these other products. I'm thinking, dude, I'm like putting this on my hair every day or every other day. And, and what could that be doing to my system? Just that one thing. Then I started looking at all my makeup products. It's like, what really is a clean makeup? Is vegan really important, or are they all just kind of vegan? So I started changing up my, and probably using less makeup too.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think-
there it is.
Yep.
The EWG. Yeah, the environmental work group. Thank you. Oh, you're our people. So I was just looking at like things I was especially putting on my body. The bath salts that I was putting in my tub that I'm soaking in. I just
They were just not, they were
not pure. And now I start getting them from the farmer's market and I'll ask them exactly what's in it and things like that. Because I'm thinking I'm soaking in it.
this is your biggest organ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Soaking in this tub, and even I've got a spa out back, a mineral, it does use chemicals, but it mostly ozone is how it cleans.
Nice.
And when I go and swim in the regular swimming pool, I'm like, this is nice because I don't have a current like throwing itself at me, but I love swimming in that environment back there because I feel like it's a little less toxic than swimming in a regular swimming pool.
Rachel says, I started having our daughter use this site to be health conscious with products she wants to use and the things that she eats. Yeah, I think that's important. I didn't even think about, my son is 12. And so he, he's making his own decisions about like what different products he wants to use and stuff like that. And I, now that I'm learning more about this information and really, really taking a look at like how it affects our bodies and really my health, I promise I'll do some changes here, and especially for Ryzen, and have him actually go through and research his own products, so that he has an active, say in what he wants to put in his body and why.
Yeah. And coming from an energetic way, I really feel like it's important for us to make intentional choices in the present, right? Is to really say, okay, how do I want my life to be different? And there was an article I read once where if you throw away and remove from your world 27 things, it'll change your mindset.
Oh shit.
So if you've got like 21 things or 26 things, I can't remember what
26,
number.
I see them in my mind right now. We have a lot of stuff.
And if you don't need it, and it's not bringing you joy, like the condo, right?
Yeah.
Then give it a try. One Saturday, get rid of 27 things or 21 things and see if it kind of lightens your world.
It's a good prescription for us.
Right?
I'm going to do it with you and I'll report back what I'm experiencing. Yeah. So I'm doing the prayer for my
every night
healing with Addison, and I'm going to throw away 27 things?
I think it's 27.
Okay. And I'm going to throw away 27 things, and I'll report back in about 8 days.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Let us know what you've got going on and what you might be committed to just try and see if there's experiment with us. I think those are always fun, and it's kind of, it's motivating, especially when you have a community helping you do some of these things.
Talking about good vibes. Last night, my dad.
Sounds fun. Instagram challenge. I'm in. Let's do it.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
it.
we'll put up a 27 things game on Instagram and y'all can report back.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
we'll do
just
that this
interested,
weekend.
not only would it make us feel better if it's really supposed to, if it really creates change like that, but like, just see what happens for kind of like everyone, right? Like,
Mhm.
whoever's down to play, we'll do it. It's fun. We'll actually give you some prizes.
Yeah, we've been giving
Cool.
prizes.
Yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
make one of specific.
Berkeley won the prize yesterday. I sent her an email
Yay.
that I'd send her a snuffle mat.
Yeah,
She
and so
loved it.
what are we doing today? So we've got,
today,
you also sent a snuffle mat too? Fun.
well, I knew she had animals.
Yes,
So,
look, see, that's how we get to learn everyone.
and I want some doggies to have these. They were such good products.
Yeah.
It just was no longer anything that I wanted to do. So,
Oh, yay, love that. Yeah, I like showing love and it's fun.
yeah.
That's
Hey, talking about love, my husband, and this will be a good transition into Dr. Jane too. Last night I'm like on the couch and I'm doing social media and things like that. And my husband's like, oh, and gasping behind me. And he's like, oh my gosh. And I was like, he's like, I'm sending you this article. And I was like, okay. And he sent me this article on this 27-year-old boy
Okay.
and you read the article, that does these TikToks.
Oh, yes.
And he asked for donations so that he can give these workers that just are regular day construction workers and they don't have the means, tickets to go to Disney. And he just shares these stories on TikTok. And some of the stories were just like, one of the people actually worked at Disney and built Disney and never even went to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But he was like, I'm going to hire you for the day, basically. Like, and your job is to go to Disney and
have fun for the day.
Have fun.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was just the coolest freaking thing. He was, I guess, 21, 22 in the pandemic. And he thought of this idea where he wanted to have this show that was just all about contribution and giving back and love. And I read it and I just, from all the energy yesterday going round, I was just like in tears. I was like, how awesome is this? People who haven't had opportunity or the means to do these things, he's giving them an experience that, they can, never thought that they would even be able to have. And it really made me think that I want to grow this audience to a point in which there will be more of a give back there.
Oh, for sure.
That is
the thing. Yeah.
I mean, now we can give away like $10 gift cards, but what if we could give away like $500 gift cards,
somebody's
$1,000, gift cards, if we grow this community, all based on love, even.
Right. Like maybe it's, we stock the refrigerator for a family in need. It's a $500 gift card. Those things and just, I love that idea, Jeanette, about paying it forward and creating a community that can do those kind of things.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I think what really gets me is here's a person doing it, and that person's inspiring these other people to do the same thing. And it's inspiring me to do that thing. And how could that change our world if we all keep paying it forward? I just, and then, and then everyone also has a greater sense of abundance.
I agree.
Even, right?
I agree.
Because
I line and agree. No, seriously though, studies have been shown that when we are in service or when we volunteer, that we fundamentally, like if you were having a downtime and you were going through depression, they say now to go and find a place to go volunteer, because what it happens is it releases endorphins because you feel good about what you're doing for others. And I believe that's by no accidents, because we were born here on earth to be for one another. And that is how we reconnect and back to oneness, right? Through these acts of service. One of the things that I have tried to instill upon with like Ryzen when he was really young he was really little, and one time we went to with Santa, and he was gonna sit on Santa's lap, and of course you tell Santa what you want, and he's like, Santa, I'm okay, I have toys, but will you give the toys that you were gonna give to me to the little boys and girls that don't have any?
Oh my
And
gosh,
I was like, what? My husband and I were
like
leaning in.
tears.
And so we helped him build a little foundation in which, so anyway, and he also said, it goes, but if you do want to bring me something, I like trains. He goes, but I really want, like, and that was it, right? So we leaned over and we're like, he's this little bitty guy at the time. So what we tried to be like, okay, how can we continue to have him, be of service? Because that is,
Because that's his heart.
yeah, yeah. So now he has a little foundation. It's really
Right.
small, y'all. But we take donations of like old laptops and stuff like that. And he does, because he's really techie, and he repurposes them and we give them to little boys and little girls who don't have the means to get their own laptop or connected device for education and safety.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this is so fun. And we just gave one to a little girl who had been sick in the hospital, and we make him do it all. Like he has to look it up, and he does the little inventory of how we get the donation. And then he does the repurposing, and he wipes it clean, and then he takes it, and I made him put it in a little bag. And, because I'm all about the presentation. Yeah. It's a gift.
No, totally.
And she sent us this most beautiful little video back. Like she's like, I love my laptop. And he put these he 3D prints these little fidgets. And she's like, where do I get more fidgets? And I love my laptop so much. And she was showing us like the different things that she was learning. And I thought, my God, like just, it's just a little something that we have on the side. But for him, he was just glowing. He was telling everybody. He went and told his grandmother about it. He told his neighbor and his friends at school about it. Like he was just really proud.
Yeah.
And I thought, Dolly, how can we continue to be that myself too, as an example, gosh, of that love for even our children and in this community too. So
yeah, I remember with my first business, you were always like, we need to get some philanthropic, and it was more like, I was like, yeah, but I'm not there yet. And now growing the second business, I really see how, wait, no, I am there. My head is there.
Yeah.
And my heart mostly is there.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm like, yeah, let's give them gift card. I mean, and part of me, what really, I think I want the community to step up, right? I want you guys to, and I love that those of you guys that show up live and chat and things like that. And I'm just like, come on, like really step up. Let's be a community here. Let's be, this oneness that we are.
Yeah.
I was thinking last night, if I was going to do another merch shirt, I should do it. I'm a star seed. Are you? Or something like that.
That's cute.
Lonely star seed seeking lonely star seed.
Right. And then,
but let's be a community here. It's not, this show wouldn't be what it is without you guys. And I just can't say that enough. And that's why I'm like, and we're inviting you in all ways. Like you get to see behind the scenes of our lives. You get to share your lives. If you follow us on Instagram, we follow you back.
Yes.
I mean, we want you guys here as a community.
Yes.
And I was really hoping that a few more of you would go play with us on Instagram, because that is where we get to really play it more as a community, because a lot of the people just listen to these on YouTube, I think. I see the numbers. So I think, well,
yeah, how can
why are you being shy?
Create more oneness. And you don't look, can still be pretty private, even if you do participate, because the truth is that it's not like, the truth is that we would be that for you, right?
Yeah. I kind of also, let me talk about privacy just for a minute.
Okay, I'm private, to be honest. So social media kind of is like, oh.
Well, and I feel like there's like, what are you trying to hide?
I get that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I'm vulnerable in the
It's also taken me time to get there too.
show. Sure.
Because I felt like, well, I don't want anybody to see my dark sides,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or my dirt, right?
Yeah.
Like my dogs, right?
Yeah.
My clutter, it's not like I could go around the house like Ryan
Yeah.
with a camera because it's
It's a house.
not, yeah, it's a home, right?
Right, you live
It's
here.
it's not perfect, but I know people who do have these like perfect, gorgeous homes, or at least that's all you see.
Right. So that's it right there.
Mhm.
Tarek says, so good to hear all this, the energy of the new earth. That's exactly what it is.
I feel that.
There is more compassion and love spreading between people, especially the new generations. Yay.
Yeah,
That's what we
absolutely.
want to build here, is that what you explained right there,
Yeah,
as a community. And let's just be really acknowledging of that for each other without that judgment. We don't need that. That's for
yeah.
birds.
Yeah, I think don't you think that's why a lot of people want to hide from social
Mhm,
media is
mhm.
because, we're weirdos and and we will be judged. And in my, I mean, gosh, it's taken me a long, long time.
Yeah. Leslie says, I'm more of a one-on-one person. I don't do large groups much anymore. So social media isn't really my thing. I get that too. So I guess we're just inviting you to maybe just comment in on that page, right? Like, so, because there's, it's a pretty small page,
Well,
it's brand new, and
you don't have to share your life on your page
No,
either.
no,
I think it's more just to build
about
community.
about commenting, and maybe other people feel the way that you do too.
Yeah.
And that gives them the invitation and even the motivation
Yeah.
to open up. I mean, I think a lot of people suffer in silence too.
Mhm.
I tend to isolate, and especially when I was having a dark night of the soul, man, I could have used people without their judgments.
Man, I couldn't have done a video on social media during that time.
Sure.
Now
Well, you can write to us
to talk about now.
Yeah. And you can always email us too at team@howtoslo.com and just say, hey, Leonka, had a great time in the show. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
Or, you can always write us directly too. So
Yeah, of course, and if it's not for you, then don't
That's
choose
okay.
it. I mean, I'm not saying, well, to be a part of this.
no, you can always show up here too, just like you did and put in the chat. And that's a huge contribution already.
Because it keeps the conversation
Yeah.
going. And then we also know where what you're thinking too, right? So you're going, okay, social media is not my thing. Okay, well,
I get it, Leslie. I'm
wasn't really
private.
our thing either, but I am enjoying it now that we had in the last series this guy that joined us right away on social, and it was just neat to see his life. And then he'd show up in the comments on Zoom and be like, we knew what he did for a living, and knew a little bit about his family and his heart and things like that. So
it really
I
is.
like, while we're small, especially it's nice to get to know some of you, especially those that show up at, some of you were showing up almost every day. Been missing a couple though.
I'm sure there's people catching on replay too.
Yeah.
Especially for the people that are, that we get to know more often. I think about you. I do. And I think about, like when you go in and ask questions, and let's say that you asked a speaker question and maybe you do receive at that time or you haven't, or I think about those questions and I'm like, how can I be more of a contribution to, this person? Or I remember this person said this, and, what, and I really asked Spirit, what can I be on the show next that would help or maybe bring some more clarity to this? For as one receives, we all get free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, Leslie just said, she's like, I hate watching myself. And I kind of feel that I fell into the same way until there was filters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put some filters on, girl, and make you feel better.
Yeah, put some filters on there and
Who cares,
you'll
right?
feel like you're
Yeah,
your
then you're a movie
gender.
star.
Right? I'm like, I kind of come up here with hardly no makeup. She
Hey,
kind of
there's-
is mad
there's
at
a-
me.
there is-
Sometimes she's like, you need the lips at least. And I'm like, oh, I don't. I have a filter. Actually, I do need lips though.
Because then when we look
I've
back
kind of
at
eaten
it,
them all off
yeah,
already.
I do that too all the time. But we're saying this with love and being funny about it. But really, it's just, show up, and we say come as you are, and with, touch up Zoom if you need to. Who cares, right? There's no judgment really. And really, if you don't want to see yourself on Zoom, I don't like seeing myself without the touch up. I'm
That's
like,
what I was
"Ooh,
thinking,
that
right?
is too close and that's too much HD. I don't need that
And
much
it's
high
easier doing a
definition.
show with you because I'm even smaller if somebody's watching on their phone.
Right? It's not all the chins. Look, we're
Luckily, I
everybody's real
like chin
people.
exercising myself for my entire life, so I have no double chin.
Oh, so that works.
It's supposed to like strengthen up
Y'all.
those muscles down there, man.
I guess we're getting the full gamut of the show today.
Like
Whatever makes us better.
whatever
Very.
makes us better. And I do this facial massage and I
Okay.
take these two fingers and I really feel like it makes a difference. I saw this on a TikTok.
See? There's all the things.
See what you can learn from social media, Leslie? There's a lot of people that, and they'll like do these things and I'm like, gosh, I actually feel like that has helped
I can see
that,
that.
So,
I do this, like the little
and
this
ice
thing.
rolling,
Mhm.
this
A
whole
little bit of
shebang.
face yoga.
One of the podcasts that I listened to, she came out with a mouth tape.
Ah,
I mean, talk about being introduced to things that nobody else knows. And basically it's supposed like you put it over your mouth quite literally and go to sleep. So you're forced to breathe out of your nose. And there's all this scientific research on how you wake up more hydrated because you're not breathing through your mouth and letting all those particles go. And I mean, it's like, I feel like my world wouldn't be the same without social media. I mean, I use it in a really positive way, right? Like I seek out how to live your best life, how to biohack and things like that
Yeah.
from social media.
yeah, that's true.
I love it so much. And I love hearing things like what Ryan shared that was totally
Yeah.
different
That was
than
cool.
what other people, and he's incredibly knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I felt like this group, just because we've done so much galactic work and playing with the frequency and stuff, that they might go, okay.
But
But,
that wasn't the case, was it?
No,
I know, I
mean,
love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
That the group could definitely receive. And the other thing too is that I think that in this community, we really get that we have to, not have to, which we always have free will, but that when we clear the environment, when we clear our body, just like Masami said, we then can be a better channel and a better receiver for what our guides are trying to, the messages that we're trying to receive. Masami talked about how when we are, cluttered with a lot of like the bad foods, really bad foods. She talked a lot about that. And I felt like she was talking directly to me. She said that you're full of bile. And that, that gross bile that basically is just like sludge and crud. And it really makes it hard for your guides to reach you.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, my vessel. So I've really been taking to heart.
Vessel.
I seriously.
Her vessel is getting really tiny too. It's
Probably
it's
because I'm
kind-
not eating all those just grain foods and the artificial sweeteners that she told me that
I told her dog needs to go on a grain-free diet.
he does. We're migrating that way. He's like a little pet pig. But the truth is that all of that really rings true for me because I didn't realize how much my house probably has some of those elements. And gosh, what would it be like if I could just have us be a little bit more sharp, a little
You
more.
could be fabuloso without fabuloso.
That's really funny. I like it.
I think this weekend I'm going to, and I'll share this on Instagram, but I'm going to get, I'm going to see if there's a glass. I'm thinking I probably want, instead of a plastic, containers for cleaning products, if there would be a glass vessel that I could do that water and distilled in the vinegar, the water and the vinegar.
Okay. Yes.
And have a little spray glass bottle, maybe I'll look it up on Amazon, and have our cleaning lady start to use my homemade cleaning products instead of what they're using.
I wonder if there is something like that that they.
Yeah. And
they do
maybe I
using.
should check to see,
Sure.
what they
that
are
policy is
using.
like. That's actually a really great question.
yeah,
My friend, who she sells Arbonne because she is really conscientious about, what she puts in her body, and she's always telling me what I need to change up, but I do listen.
Mhm.
And, one of the things that she, does is really like, she thinks about her hair and stuff like that. So she goes to get her hair done. She'll bring them product to use on her while she's getting her hair done. I thought, wow, that's fascinating. Like,
I
go girl.
right.
But she really takes it to heart. She's always like, Leonka, your skin is your biggest organ. And I'm thinking, yeah, I know.
Yeah, and mineral sunscreens.
Mhm.
They're so, they're so hard to use sometimes, but I've really transitioned. I found a couple that are like fall in that EWG clean category. But so because I am in the sun a lot because I swim, I feel like I, don't even put on enough sometimes. When we went to graduation, I was I had makeup on to protect my face a little, but I was literally taking the pamphlet and blocking myself because the sun here is so hot in
Yeah,
Texas
yeah.
sometimes.
It was right
incredible.
there too. You could see the people that needed to get out of the sun. They were already turning red and
Yeah.
stuff.
So what are you guys, next we're going to talk with Dr. Jane, who is a sexologist and a hypnotherapist, and she's a doctor. We should probably know what kind of doctor she is, but she's a doctor of some sort. And what kind of a connection relationship questions do you
Oh
have?
yeah, y'all be thinking about that.
Right.
You can start to pull up her
Mm.
stuff and then also have her link ready to go.
And pull up her stuff. But let's see, you'll help me cut paste.
Yes, I will.
So this, I would like to.
We will not be taken down by technology. We will win. We are victorious in this community.
We've been doing okay, haven't we?
Yeah, we really have.
So I need a browser.
So you have the
Okay,
team
here,
pass
yes,
open
see that.
already.
Okay, cool. And not sure who's, okay. So there's her card.
And then you're just gonna go down. No, it's at the top. It's in the same place we always put them and you're just gonna grab that link. Right there.
Okay, cool.
And then
This is all about
Control-C,
how to fix, oh, not that one. Okay.
and then Control. She's just offering us so be sure to join us. We are doing, she's gonna give us a free book. And then for a select few, she'll do a complimentary one-on-one session. So we get to be able to do that. Is it online? Has to be.
This is the wrong link. Oh, wait. There's not even a domain name here. This is weird.
Maybe it's not pasting the right thing. You're not copying
that
the right
why?
thing.
Okay.
Yes. We'll get through. So
Okay.
go back to the card. Highlight and do a Control-C.
Okay. And then this guy, right? I feel like a 2-year-old.
No, it's so funny. It's like when somebody's driving stick.
Right?
which I didn't do really well.
Okay, and then Control V.
Uh-huh.
Okay. There we go. All right.
So
excellent.
that other link.
Oh,
which-
cool.
Okay, so you can paste the other link in there too for
Right.
Ryan.
Okay, well, let me, they're fine. We'll give it to them on the replay at this point. Here's the free book that you guys can get if you want to go ahead and check it
Sure.
out. Excellent.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a really great conversation and I'll let y'all know because you're on the line already. For the first 20 people that go and grab the book, you'll qualify for a free complimentary one-on-one
This is actually
session.
a $37 offer unless there's a.
There's a coupon code, so
Okay.
it's in that.
Wait, we're just figuring this out.
It's in the card. It should be.
Okay.
And then up at the top. Oh, no, maybe the link is just there. No, okay. So I got to get it from the email. So I'm also not on a computer. So usually I always go do all this stuff behind the scenes.
That's weird.
Go to Jane.
But we just need to make it through today. With ease, joy, and glory, what would it take? Okay.
It's just free gift is the code.
Okay, free gift is the code.
Mhm.
Let me grab that. Okay. And then Control C. And
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started in just a moment. And I wonder if Jane is on the line yet.
oh yeah, oh, I've been forgetting this waiting room here.
Admit all.
Okay, there she is.
Yay.
Hey,
Hello.
all right.
And we'll get started here just a second. We'll get the